Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everyone, we'd like to begin every meeting with our district's mission and vision. Our mission is to create a culture of academic excellence through inclusive and innovative learning opportunities for the whole child. And our vision is to empower all learners to reach their full potential in a globally competitive world. Can I please get a motion and a second for the approval of the agenda? So moved. Second. Thank you, Dr. James, for your motion. Thank you, Dr. Steger, for your second. Mrs. Logan, please call the roll.
Dr. James.
Aye.
Dr. Steger.
Aye.
Mr. Ballant.
Aye.
Mrs. Bitter.
Aye. Can I please get a motion and a second for the approval of the minutes?
So moved.
Second. Thank you, Mr. Ballant, for your motion. Thank you, Dr. Steger, for your second. Mrs. Logan, please call the roll.
Mr.
Or
Ballant.
actually, does anyone have any,
Yes.
edits or everyone good on the minutes? Sorry.
Mr. Ballant.
Aye.
Dr. Steger.
Aye.
Dr. Jane.
Aye.
Mrs. Bitter.
Aye. Next is a public hearing for the reemployment of retiree Charles Osborne. Per Ohio Revised Code 3307.353, the Board of Education will provide opportunity for public comment concerning the potential reemployment of Charles Osborne as custodial supervisor for the district. Mr. Osborne retired from the position of custodial supervisor on May 31st, 2024. Do we have any?
And no one has contacted
Anyone
us to
contacted
say
us?
that they wanted to speak.
Thank you. Next item is public participation. Do we have any requests for public participation today, Mrs.
Do
Logan?
not.
Right. Next is the superintendent's agenda. Can I please get a motion and a second for the approval of policy second read? Moved.
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Steger, for your motion. Thank you, Dr. James, for your second. Any questions about the edits? I think. All right, Mrs. Logan, please call the roll.
Dr. Steger.
Aye.
Dr. James.
Aye.
Mr. Ballant.
Aye.
Mrs. Bitter.
Aye. Can I please get a motion and a second for the approval of an agreement with Hamilton County Developmental Disability Services? Second.
I'll
Thank
just,
you.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. James, for your motion. Thank you, Dr. Steger, for your second.
The doctors.
Yes.
And I just wanted to say thank you to Mrs. Spencer for, I know, preempting and giving the board information about all of these contracts. So unless there is a specific question about any contract, I'm going to stay silent for the rest of the next several items. And then Mrs. Spencer will as well, unless you have a particular question or she wants to make a comment about one of those items. So, and every single one of these items are in relation to making sure that we serve our students with disability through their individual education plan. And, that's some of the work that we have to do in collaboration with our building leaders and special education department. So
Is that including letter I?
it is not letter I. So when we get to letter I, we can, if you have a question about that one. So I'll be quiet through H.
Thank you. I will go through these. I would like to say that I appreciate the work that you have put into this, and thank you for providing that to the board. I know that's something you've been doing for us for the last 3 years, and it's really very helpful. I would like to say that each one of these individual items has a contract, and every contract is different. I noticed some of them are very robust, I'll say, and some are very short, more like memorandums of understanding. And my hope is that we will be able to see, a longer contract for some of them. I'm sure they have longer contracts behind the memorandum of understanding. So if those come about in the future, if you could provide those or share those with the board, that would be helpful. Like for the memorandum of understanding, it's a very simple document that just says, in very simple terms, we will pay you this money for services, but doesn't say what services are, it doesn't offer the protections that are written throughout the contract for the others. And I know that that's simply because it's probably somewhere else. So I would like to see that as one board member for the future.
Actually, we can request that. They
Yeah.
do not provide
Yeah.
anything other than that document
Got it.
for the service agreement, so I can certainly request
Yeah,
that
that would
from
be
that
great.
agency.
Yeah, just for the ones that have the really short, I know that St. Rita's has that, and then there's one for the, I believe, Ohio Valley Voices is very short as well. Just to be able to understand what the protections are there for our district, for our students, the board's benefit of the board.
Absolutely.
Thank you. All right, so Logan, can you please call the roll?
Dr. James,
Aye.
Dr. Steger,
Aye.
Mr. Ballant,
Aye.
Mrs. Bitter.
Aye. Can I please get a motion and a second for the approval of an agreement with Applied Behavioral Services?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Ballant, for your motion. Thank you, Dr. James, for your second. Mrs. Logan, please call the roll.
Mr. Ballant.
Aye.
Dr. James.
Aye.
Dr. Steger.
Aye.
Mrs. Bitter.
Aye. Could I please get a motion and a second for the approval of an agreement with Ohio Valley Voices? Second. Thank you, Dr. James, for your motion. Thank you, Dr. Steger, for your second. Mr. Logan, please call the roll.
Dr. James.
Aye.
Dr. Steger.
Aye.
Mr. Ballant.
Aye.
Mrs. Bitter.
Aye. Could I please get a motion and a second for the approval of an agreement with St. Rita's School for the Deaf?
So moved.
Mr. Ballant for your motion. Thank you, Dr. James, for your second. Mrs. Logan, please call the roll.
Mr. Ballant.
Aye.
Dr. James.
Aye.
Dr. Steger.
Aye.
Mrs. Bitter.
Aye. Can I please get a motion and a second for the approval of an agreement with Cincinnati Center for Autism?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Steger, for your motion. Thank you, Mr. Ballant, for your second. Mrs. Logan, please call the roll.
Dr. Steger.
Aye.
Mr. Ballant.
Aye.
Dr. James.
Aye.
Aye. Could I please get a motion and a second for the approval of an agreement with Best Point Educational and Behavioral Health? Second. Thank you, Dr. James, for your motion. Thank you, Dr. Steger, for your second. Mrs. Logan, please call the roll.
Dr. James.
Aye.
Dr. Steger.
Aye.
Mr. Ballant.
Aye.
Mrs. Bitter.
Aye. Could I please get a motion and a second for the approval of an agreement with Warren County Educational Service Center?
So moved.
Second. Thank you, Mr. Ballant, for your motion. Thank you, Dr. Steger, for your second. Mrs. Logan, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Ballant.
Aye.
Dr. Steger.
Aye.
Dr. James.
Aye.
Mrs. Bitter.
Aye. Could I please get a motion and a second for change order Blue Ash Restroom Addition and Mapledale Media Center renovation projects?
So moved.
Second. Thank you, Mr. Ballant, for your motion. Thank you, Dr. Steger, for your second.
Just, just looking at it, looks like some restroom changes, some minor construction hiccups that they sometimes encounter. So it looked like some plumbing changes, some readjustments for electrical. So looks like pretty minor renovation changes.
We're on schedule for it to be completed.
I haven't heard any differently. So, I always say you hold out hope that there's never any issues, but I would say if being at July 19th, if there was gonna be an issue, Mr. Zimmerly or Mr. Melvin would have communicated by now, and neither one of them look nervous. They're on vacation, so they're feeling good. So I think it'll be great additions to not only the media centers, but having restrooms in the kindergarten rooms. I know that you've spent some time in elementary schools, you know how important that is, so.
And at Blue Ash Elementary as well.
Thank you. Mrs. Logan, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Ballant.
Aye.
Dr. Steger.
Aye.
Dr. James.
Aye.
Mrs. Bitter.
Aye. Next, can I please get a motion and a second for the approval of an agreement with Butler County Educational Service Center?
So moved.
Second. Thank you, Dr. James, for your motion. Thank you, Dr. Steger, for your second. Mrs. Logan, please call the roll.
Dr. James.
Aye.
Dr. Steger.
Aye.
Mr. Ballant.
Aye.
Mrs. Bitter.
Aye. Can I please get a motion and a second for the approval of an agreement with Hamilton County ESC?
Move.
Second. Thank you, Dr. James, for your motion. Thank you, Dr. Steger, for your second. Mrs. Logan, please call the roll.
Dr. James.
Aye.
Dr. Steger.
Aye.
Mr. Ballant.
Aye.
Mrs. Bitter.
Aye. Can I please get a motion and a second for the approval of an agreement with Learn 21? So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Steger, for your motion. Thank you for your second, Mr. Ballant.
Dr.
Questions?
Yeah, this is just our annual work that we do for some of our software platforms and our data integration services.
Thank you. Mrs. Logan, please call the roll.
Dr. Steger.
Aye.
Mr. Balance.
Aye.
Dr. James.
Aye.
Mrs. Bitter.
Aye.
Other. Just real quick, I wanted to say thank you to the board for your support on the Hamilton County ESC contract, because with new math and new ELA curriculum coming in, those coaches and that professional learning support will be huge for our teachers going into this school year. Definitely huge for our administrators, because they do not have the capacity to take on that burden of teaching curriculum on top of all the other things they have to do. So thank you for that support. Other today is not going to be me. I invited some of our principals here because they have been doing a lot of professional learning and have attended some conferences over the summer, and they were so excited about it. I thought I would, instead of me communicating it to you, I think you'd rather hear it from them. So I didn't give them any specifics of, other than, hey, you don't have like an hour to tell them about everything you did at your conference, but just give them a few minutes of an overview of what you experienced. So actually great representation, because we have elementary, middle grades, and then high school. So we kind of have it all represented here. So it's almost like they coordinated this, maybe. I don't know. So start with Jessica, maybe?
Sure. So earlier this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the elementary, green school and junior high all went to Nashville for the National Association of Education or Elementary and Secondary School Principals Conference. With about 5,000 other school principals and administrators. We took over Nashville, which was interesting. It was a great opportunity for us to, especially with lots of new team members, to build some relationships and get to know each other outside of sort of a professional setting, but also being able to have this shared experience of learning together. So we all know that we have to work very closely together, and we need to have strong relationships and really trust, and knowing each other is the foundation of that. So it was really nice to have those 3 days together to learn together, but also to have some fun together and talk about things outside of work. There were lots and lots of sessions. I would say there were probably hundreds of sessions. And so there was a lot of choice in what we could do. And so we were able to pick things that not only align to our building needs, but also to the strategic plan and to our district priorities and goals. So just a couple of topics I'll share. There were a lot of sessions on equity, mental health. I went to one on reset rooms and calming spaces. That was really neat. And I had been talking to Lisa about that already, so I was able to get some really great ideas for that. There were some around training for educational assistants that India had gone to and is coming back with some great ideas about how we're able to build them up in a more consistent and constructive way. Lots of sessions on MTSS. Everybody's doing that work right now. PLCs, literacy, instructional leadership. So it was just really powerful to build relationships with people within our district, but also to meet some people in Ohio and across the nation. There were people there from, everywhere, California and Florida and Colorado. So it was just a really, really great experience. So thank you for supporting us and being able to have these great opportunities. I think I want to share something else that she took away.
So Rahima Ellis is an NBC reporter with she does all the education stuff for NBC News, and she was one of the keynotes one day. And I was thinking about her because she was probably the most impactful speaker that I had throughout the conference. And there were really big name girls. I felt like I was fangirling the whole time. Todd Whitaker, that's George Kuros, that's Bella, yes, all there speaking. And so it was really energizing. But Rahima Ellis, I think, was really impactful because she's not an educator, but she was speaking to 5,000 educators, and I felt like she believes in the work that we do. And she was almost crying at one point because she's like, you hold the future in your hands. Literally, you're holding the future in your hands. And it was so impactful because she's traveled all across the world learning about education, and to come back to us and say, you guys are doing a lot of things right. It was really, really impactful. But I echo what Jessica said. The time together was the most valuable. It was really fun to watch. A number of the APs went to the session that Jessica was referencing about working with paraprofessionals and educational assistants. And they all came back together and they are so jazzed to be writing new protocols and talking about processes that we can roll out as a district, and to put all of them in the same room with the same vision was really, really cool. So thank you guys for supporting us. We missed the high school, but they went to a pretty amazing conference too.
Yes, you said some pretty good names there, Janelle.
I
know. Principal Kafele is amazing. We also had a session with Todd Whitaker. But before I talk about the Innovative School Summit, just huge thank you to Chad and Jenny and the board for just making sure we could have these experiences. I know from the high school standpoint, you probably got a little bit annoyed with me because we were emailing back and forth about logistics and things.
And the timing of it, it was just, but I'm so glad.
Yes, I know that it would not have been possible without people making ways and just being thoughtful and creative. So tons of gratitude. Thank you. But we went a few weeks prior to the elementary schools and Janelle's team, and it was called the Innovative School Summit. It was just perfect timing. The synergy, the alignment to things that we've already been working on. And I'm excited because I think there's some tangible ways that we can take what we learned in Nashville from the conference and actually see it come to fruition here for this upcoming school year. So probably one or two things that you may be able to notice throughout the next 12 months is an intentional effort to focus on our why. And I think that's an opportunity for each individual plus our teams to be more thoughtful, more connected, and to really be grounded. And like, we do all want the same thing. And so there's been some very intentional sessions that we, as a high school team, we went to together, mainly Kim Bearden and Brian Dinkins out of Indiana, that really gave us some strategies to teach people, how do you find your why? How does your why show up each and every day? And how does it all fit together? So that's something that's exciting for me to bring back to the high school. And the Innovative School Summit also had like an AI arm. So that'll be exciting as well. I think we've got the right personnel to be able to, dabble more into artificial intelligence. And what does that look like right now? And what should it look like as we go forward? So tons of gratitude for giving us the opportunity. And I think we're ready to crush it this year at the high school. So thank you.
Is it something different that you haven't attended in the past, or is this something you go to every year?
This is a national conference and none of us have ever attended a national conference. It was a really great opportunity. It's in Seattle next year if you'd like to send us. I'd like to go.
Nashville seems to be a space because there were several different conferences, like ours were, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ahead of schedule for you all.
Yeah.
But I think Nashville's got this reputation for hosting national conferences. And so I thought just the fact that we could be together as a newly developing team, plus we could take things that align, I thought it was a home run. So thank you.
I mean, if there's collaboration and learning that's going on, I don't think anybody on the board would be against continuing to learn and develop and see what's out there nationally.
Yeah, and I think there's value not only to go as a team, but then also to have the opportunity to speak with people who are in districts elsewhere.
Absolutely.
That's valuable as well.
And a lot of it really was, I mean, there were big names there, but most of the speakers were people from other districts just talking about what they've done in their own schools. So it's not like you have to be this person who has a blog and has written 10 books and is a researcher and has a doctorate. It's people, it's like us, hard workers, smart, doing great innovative things in their own buildings and in their own spaces. So,
And I think a lot of us found those as the most impactful because they were so practical, right? We can take exactly what they've done and come back with it. And they've given us a lot of like Google Docs that are editable. And so it's literally plug and play, right? And so I have new agendas for our faculty meeting. I have new agendas for our BLT meeting. And it's from the principals, to your point, that are doing the work.
So what I hear you both saying is you're ready to present next year in
know,
Seattle.
I think I would say, like, it was also really affirming that we're doing the right work and we're not behind. Like, there were people there talking and presenting. It's like, okay, we do this. I think we actually maybe do it better than that, So it was really affirming for me as well. We're doing the right thing.
But to your point, I think
they're
knowing the professionals that we have, I do think there'll be an opportunity. Because I told them when they got back, I don't know that I spoke to any of these three, but I think Mindy, I spoke to her recently and I just said I was a little jealous that you all were there.
Yeah.
Learning together and having this great time. And there were multiple times that each one of us at the district level wanted to go with them, but it was like, no, we want them to go off and go by themselves because they need to build their team first. But I think in the future, there are some opportunities that we'll be looking at because Mr. Long and I have been looking at several conferences that are going to be, maybe not Seattle, but there are things in Chicago next summer. There are things in San Antonio. I know there's one in 2 years so we're trying to look at things that maybe we can take a contingent of people to, so that we can be together and build the team, continually instead of just like, and I told them, I don't want this to just be a one-off, like,
Right.
to Jessica's point, like it was her first time in her career at Sycamore of going to a national conference as an administrator. I do want to get on a regular cycle so everybody feels like they have an opportunity to experience it. So while being mindful of the cost of.
One of the really cool things is because it was a national conference, we also then got to network with just the Ohio branch and then just the middle school branch. So Greg and I got to go with just middle school principals. And then they have weekly meetings that we didn't know about until this conference. And so now we're able to tap into those monthly meetings. So network with people that are dealing with our exact population.
The NAESP and the SSP, they have these learning communities, and India and I are both included in this, and I don't know if you guys know about this, but they have different topics. So India is in one around minority leaders, and then I'm in one that's like new administrators, and they meet on a monthly basis around topics. It's all virtual. It's after school, like at 5 o'clock at night, and it's just talking about topics that you want to talk about and that are important to you, and just it's another way to network with people across the country in an easy but regular way. So we both really enjoyed those learning. That is part of this organization that put on the conference.
Were the new administrators able to go with you?
Yes, all of them except Natalie was not able to go because she was on vacation, but Danielle Gray went.
Natalie Moss. who just
Natalie
got
Moss
hired.
went.
Samantha Helms, who's
Samantha
our new
Helms
AD.
It was nice to, Lindsay Combs was there, and it was nice to like pull her a little bit with the elementary people and get to know her better. So yeah, it was great that the people were.
And it was fun to see them connect as well, like we're in this together.
Yeah.
And to see them kind of gravitate towards each other was really good.
Mr.
Timing
Porter,
didn't
your
work.
whole team went, right?
Well, the timing of it allowed myself, Ashwin, Princess, and Andrew to go, and then our new hires, Ashley and Caitlin, we were just probably a week or two. We just missed by a week or two.
Great opportunities. So I would just say on behalf of the team, thank you, because I know our district administrators get to go to stuff throughout the year. It's just I don't think they feel like they can get away from their building while there are students there, but I think they really appreciated and I could tell you just listening to them, and I've gotten probably 5 emails, and then we had a flight check yesterday where we just check in, and it was the first thing everybody was talking about. So you could tell the excitement and wanted them to be able to come and share some perspective with you, but just thank you for supporting it and for supporting our continual learning, because it is important to develop professionally and to make those connections. So excited for future opportunities.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you for coming today.
They have
Thanks
to
for
go
amazing.
interview people.
Yes, yeah, thank you.
Still working. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Could I please get a motion and a second for the personnel consent agenda?
So moved.
Second,
Thank you, Dr. James, for your motion. Thank you, Mr. Ballant, for your second. Mrs. Logan, could you please call the roll?
Dr. James.
Aye.
Mr. Ballard.
aye.
Dr. Seeger.
Aye.
Mrs. Bitter.
Aye. There, sorry. All right, we are at the treasurer's agenda. Could I please get a motion and a second for the approval of monthly financial report for the month ended June 30th, 2024.
So moved.
Second,
Thank you, Dr. James, for your motion. Thank you, Mr. Ballant, for your second. Mr. Logan.
I'd like to share, it's always nice when financially you have good news to share. that's not always the case. And so I wanted to just kind of talk about how did we end up at the end of our fiscal year for 2024. And also to look at some comparisons. Our monthly financial report, it always compares back to the previous fiscal year. So I thought it was important to start there and to look at our revenue overall was up in fiscal year 2024 comparatively to fiscal year 2023. You don't usually see a more than 6% increase in revenue in a school district, a public school district in Ohio, but we had some interesting things going on. We, and our community taxpayers know this, we went through a total reval of properties in our county. And so we saw some tax revenue increases. And we also received more money from our state through the fair school funding plan, the way that we're funding schools in Ohio, and that moving from 5% minimum to 10% minimum. This fiscal year, we definitely saw an increase in that
Mrs.
line
Levy,
item as
can you
well.
remind me, do we get that 10% again this year, or does that step up a little bit?
So the 10% will remain in place forever until that changes.
Forever on a 2-year budget.
But it will stay in place for the second year of the biennium, which will be 2025. And then in 2026, we'll get a whole new state budget and we'll see what happens there. But we have been on 5% minimum funding for a long, long time. So that doubled. We would like to see that increase again. We'll see what happens there, but then when we move to expenditures, our expenditures, our operating expenditures were up by 5% over last year's. And you can see specifically where those increases occurred. In wages, it was 5.1% increase, benefits 6.6%. Materials and supplies were up, capital outlay was down, as well as debt service payments. Other expenditures were up. So an average of 5% increase. When you look at our cash, where we started the year and where we ended up, our cash balance is up. And our board policy, we are still in alignment with our board policy, which says that our goal is that our cash balance will be not less than 25% of our operating expenditures. And we ended the year with 48%. Our cash balance as a percentage of our expenditures, as compared to last year, we were at 49%. So we're still right there where basically where we were last year. I also wanted to take a look at the other report that I added into the board agenda. And really what this report takes a look at is we do forecasts. And in this state, we've done forecasts since the 90s. We do them twice a year, once in November, and then we do the final one in May. I think it's relevant and it's important to say, okay, great, you're doing a forecast, but how close are your actuals coming in comparatively to what you're predicting? So in November, I put the chart in there to kind of show where were we, how close were we to November, and then also in May. If we look at May, and I've highlighted like our total revenues, how close were we? In May, we were 1.7% to where we predicted. If you look at November, we're better, 4.5% better than what we predicted. But if you recall, in November, we were still trying to figure out what was going on with taxes and our values. We really didn't know as much then as what we did in May. I think 1.8% overall with revenues predictions, that's still pretty darn good. When we look at expenditures, we were pretty close there in November and in May, less than 1% off.
I mean, that's phenomenal.
That's
forecasting.
pretty,
So I appreciate the work you
Yes.
and Brody have done.
yeah, I mean, it's a team effort with all of us and the entire district when managing budgets and all of that, but I think it's important to try to be as accurate as you can be. So the good news is our revenues came in higher than we predicted and our expenditures came in lower than we predicted. So overall to our cash balance is $2.4 million better than what we thought it was going to be. We actually had a balanced budget this year. Our revenues exceeded our expenditures. So as a treasurer, as a CFO, this is a good year to share this, and I can't really take credit. I mean, it's my first year, but I will just say it's good news. It's good news. And I feel like we are also on the track to communicate more about our finances, to try to be more transparent, to continue that education with our community. So I'm looking forward to our work session that we're gonna have in August, and then continuing that throughout the year. But we ended on a high note, so it's good. Good. So any questions?
Great job.
Okay.
That was
thank you.
awesome.
Thanks. Team effort. Oh.
And I think that just also shows the advocacy and working towards, with different other districts and with the Alliance and just, I know that, Beth Weber worked so hard on this. I know you have worked, everyone has worked, Mr. Lewis has worked hard on this. Everyone has worked so hard to just remind people that we were not receiving much state funding at all, and that there are some things that we could work on, and we did. Clearly, we need to keep that level. It's definitely don't go down. Yeah, it's very good. And potentially even more, better. But it just shows, right? Because we are staying within our budget. We're doing what we're supposed to be doing, but when we lose that money, lose services for, educational services for our students. All right. Thank you. Mrs. Logan, could you please call the roll?
Dr. James.
Aye.
Mr. Ballant.
Aye.
Dr. Seeger.
Aye.
Mrs. Bitter.
Aye. Next item is other board business. Mr. Ballant, I know that you have said that we have legislative update, and I know that they're on recess. Would you like to give an update or legislative update, or would you like to pass on
As
this?
they're in recess, nothing much is occurring. What I looked at didn't have any impact to us. For example, the governor signed the construction budget for the state, but we don't participate in that. So there was a very quiet month.
Okay. Any other board business that members would like to?
I would just like to say that our assistant treasurer did a great job stepping in on July 8th. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burson.
It's a good first test.
Yeah, I just have a couple questions logistically. For our August work session, I know there was talk about rolling that into a board meeting. Where do we stand on what we're doing with that?
So Chad and I met this past week and looked at what we believe an agenda would be. We believe we can combine the two, similar to what we did in the first financial work session retreat that we had. We would start in the morning with the financial retreat. Then we thought we would break for lunch for executive session, but do executive session while we eat, have a working lunch. That's kind of what we were thinking. And then as soon as lunch is over 1:30, back in with the rest of the regular board meeting and finish up. So that's our thoughts.
We're looking about 8 o'clock start on the 6th.
I will get there whenever my professional development is over that day, so I'm not sure.
We were thinking we would start at 8 with the financial retreat, then at noon go into lunch executive session, then 1:30 come out for the regular.
Refresh my memory, which date, what's the date?
August 6th.
Which is a Tuesday.
Yeah.
The idea would be to have it all during the day on August sixth, Tuesday, and then not have the meeting in the evening of the seventh of August. I know that changes it for you because you had to work during the day. I know that Mr. Harris is not yet back in school and he could do it, but that puts you in a situation.
I
and understand
literally have
that.
professional
Yeah,
development starting
I
August
understand.
first, so that's where I am right now.
So if there's that's okay, we understand flexibility.
Thank you.
We understand. Right?
And then
We
Mrs.
understand.
Bitter, we had talked about a work retreat of some kind or a workshop in
Yep.
September. Do we have a
Yep.
date for that? or
We do not have a date, and that is something that we have to decide if we would like to do that. I know that I already reached out to the OSBA and they are available to do a training in September. I have requested that maybe we could come in like and I put this out to you as a board, if we could do like a Saturday morning. We've done that in the past, just really for the board. This is a board self-evaluation and also goal setting for ourselves so that we can have a conversation of what kind of items that we want to work on together and just have a conversation, right, about that. Could you be available on a September, all of you, September in the morning on a Saturday? Does that sound okay?
It's just gonna depend on what Saturday.
Okay, well, what I'll do is I'll send out an email to everyone and give you some Saturdays and see if you're available. Would that work?
Be helpful.
Does that work? Any other items?
Just want to mention the natatorium opening on July 28th.
Yes.
Want to make sure that gets on record.
Yes.
So starting at
Yes.
1:30,
1:30.
1:30.
July 28th, 1:30 PM at the high school.
Natatorium at the high school, 1:30.
And that is,
Watch party at
what day of the week
30-ish.
is it? It's a Sunday, and the reason that it's on a Sunday is because there is the Olympic swim. meet
Yeah,
is
Carson
happening.
Foster, our
We have an Olympic.
Sycamore
We
grad.
have a Sycamore graduate who is going to be swimming, so anyone who's watching this and hopefully you will join. Come on the 28th of July, which is Sunday at 1:30 PM and cheer on our Sycamore graduate for a first place United States finish.
Cheer on his,
One or two, right? He's doing at least more than one. He's doing a couple.
cheer on Sycamore staff member.
And see the beautiful, incredible
Mrs. Foster
auditorium
works at
that this school district has. Thank you to the Seeger
Mom was
family
at
for
kindergarten and now she has intervention.
the donation for the school.
Yeah.
Amazing.
You
And
didn't
for
know that?
our community for investing in the community pool as well.
Sorry, I guess everybody didn't know that, but so Carson's mom works at Montgomery. She's at Montgomery. So
I don't think we
she
all do that.
she was teaching kindergarten and then she moved into intervention.
Okay, wonderful.
So Mrs. Foster,
Support
Yes.
our fellow moms, Sycamore moms. All right, okay. Can I please get a motion and a second to enter into executive session to consider the employment and compensation of a public employee per Ohio Revised Code 121.22G1. So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Steger, for your motion. Thank you, Dr. James, for your second. Mrs. Logan, could you please call the roll?
Dr. Seeger. Aye. Dr. James.
Aye.
Mr. Balance.
Aye.
Mrs. Bitter.
Aye. We will enter into executive session and then we do not anticipate coming back into public session and we will not be taking any votes. Thank you.